Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to wait 1 minute while people trickle in, and then we'll get started. But I see that we have a few people joining now, so we'll just give you all a moment, and then I will begin. Right. Good morning. So my name is Sarah Dorner, and I am the Director of Graduate and International Admissions at the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law. So thank you for joining me today. I'm going to share my screen in a minute. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the on-campus graduate programs that we offer here. So let me get my screen share set up, and then we'll get going. All right. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. And I would just invite you all, I'm going to do my very best here as I'm getting situated to use, you should be able to use the chat or the Q&A feature during the presentation. So I invite you as I move through the slides to please, if you have a question or a comment, I'll do my best to keep an eye on that. And then certainly at the end of the presentation, we will also have time for question and answers. But please do feel free to put your questions in the chat or the Q&A feature as we move throughout the presentation, and we'll do our best to get to your questions today. All right, so welcome again. As I just mentioned, I oversee admissions for our LLM and master's programs here at the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law. We are an ABA, an American Bar Association accredited law school with a top-ranked IP law program in the U.S. We're located in New Hampshire, which is about 1 hour north of Boston, Massachusetts. And in 2019, we launched the first in the nation hybrid JD specializing in a specific area of the law. And that is in intellectual property, technology, and information law. So New Hampshire is ranked the number 6 state to live in the U.S. and the number 2 safest state, according to the U.S. News and World Report rankings. It is a beautiful state in the very northeast of the country. So we're about 4 hours from New York or 3 hours from Montreal. It's a wonderful location for people who enjoy the outdoors and don't mind the weather of all 4 seasons. So it gets very warm here in the summer months, and we're close to lakes and mountains. And then in the winter, there's opportunities for ice skating and skiing and snowshoeing in the woods. So it's really a beautiful state to live in. The law school itself is located in the capital city of Concord, New Hampshire. And the law school is about 1 mile from downtown, the Main Street area. So it's very walkable from our campus. And the community itself within Concord is really just a lovely community that hosts events throughout the years. So coming up in just a few weeks, the Main Street will close to traffic and only be open to pedestrians for their Halloween Howl, where all of the businesses will have trick-or-treat candy for children trick-or-treating. And then as the holidays approach in December, they have Midnight Merriment, where the shops stay open until midnight, and they have special deals so people can do their holiday shopping. A few weeks ago, there was a really lovely multicultural festival at one of the parks in the city. So just a lot happening within the community here. And again, as I mentioned, just a really wonderful state to live in for people who enjoy the outdoors and nature. Let me just give you now a quick overview of the different degree programs that we offer. So our on-campus programs are focused in either intellectual property or commerce and technology law. From there's 3 different degree programs. So the LLM is for foreign trained attorneys. So people who already have a first degree in law and are looking for that postgraduate degree. And the LLM may provide a pathway to bar exam eligibility. The master's degree is for students who do not already hold a law degree. but who want a top-ranked U.S. legal education in areas that advance the global information economy. So these degrees are a fit for engineers, for scientists, business professionals who really want to understand legal issues in industry and policy. And then our final program offering is the graduate certificate. So this is a short-term program for practitioners who want to become specialists and earn expert credentials in the global landscape. So this is really just a one-semester program. The LLM and Masters is one academic year. And here in the US, the academic year begins in August and ends in May. The graduate certificate would begin in August and end in December. So a shorter term program. And I'll mention as well that the Commerce and Technology is an in-person program only. Our IP program does have online offerings, and I'll be doing a presentation next month about our online programs. But just to mention that the IP program is available both in person and online. Our IP program is the top-ranked IP law program here in the US. We have a global alumni network in 80 countries around the world. Students, and I'll share more about this, but you'll have the opportunity to get some real-world experience through our clinics and immersive classes. I'll share a little bit more about our academic success program and information for students who are interested in sitting for a US bar exam. I'll talk about career services and then share a little bit about some of the scholarships we have available. And I do see in the chat already that there's a question about bar exam eligibility. So thank you for that question. I'll go into more detail about that later in the presentation, but just to address that upfront. So the short answer is that yes, our LLM programs are not designed to be just bar prep programs, as they're specialized in specific areas of the law. But for students who are interested in sitting for a US bar exam, there is a pathway where you can take the classes required to be eligible for particularly the New York bar exam. So the short answer is that yes, you can pursue our LLM program and be eligible to sit for a US bar exam. All right, so let me talk a little bit more about our intellectual property expertise and our program itself. So in our IP program, you'll learn not only the American system and the unique ways that the US intellectual property system fuels business and innovation both here and across the globe. The program is really focused on preparing students for the IP issues of the future. We are a top 10 IP LLM program as ranked by LLM Guide. More than half of our faculty have IP expertise, and we offer one of the most comprehensive lists of courses in IP and technology law, and I'll share a little bit more about those courses in just a minute. Our IP library is the largest academic IP library in the Western Hemisphere and one of only 3 global IP research facilities around the globe. And our IP Mall, which is part of that library, is the oldest open access IP research site on the web. And as I mentioned before, the intellectual property program is available in both an in-person and an online format. You will take courses in all different areas of IP, so trademarks, patent law, copyright law, and then some more emerging areas. And I'll share a little bit more about some of those classes. In terms of the curriculum itself, so all students, whether you're in our LLM or Master's in Commerce and Technology or Intellectual Property, will take a 2-part course in American legal process and analysis, and then 1 course in graduate legal research and information literacy. So those are kind of the baseline required courses for all of our LLM and Master's students. From there, students in the Intellectual Property program will choose 3 electives from the list that you see here on the screen. So copyright law, copyright licensing, fundamentals of IP, patent law, patent practice and procedure, technology licensing, and trademarks and deceptive practices. You'll also be able to choose classes from more emerging areas such as sports law, media law, entertainment law, digital brand protection, cannabis and IP, art law. So there really is a very comprehensive list of IP and IP related courses that you can choose from. In the Commerce and Technology program, you're going to explore the legal issues that emerge when information technology, business, and the law meet. So really issues facing new business and e-commerce and the global information age economy. And this program has a focus on digital and privacy law. So in this program, rather than choosing from a specific list of elective courses, you'll choose courses that fall under these three areas. So you'll take at least one elective in intellectual property, at least one elective in transactions, information age, commercial law, and at least one elective in international perspective and regulation or tax. So some of these courses might be participating in our International Technology Transfer Institute, IP management, privacy law, business associations, bioinnovation in the law, international law, health law, secure transactions. And we'll work with you on which classes would meet those different areas. I'll mention too, just because we did have that question about the bar exam, is that eligibility for the New York bar exam does require that you take certain courses. And so our program does give you enough space to take the courses required for your degree specialization and the courses that you would need to be eligible for the bar exam. And so on this slide, I'll share just again, not a complete list of all of our courses, but just to give you a sense of some of the courses that are offered related to IP technology and commerce and tech law. Not all of these courses are offered every single semester or every year, but this gives you a sense of the breadth of course offerings available to you as a student here at UNH Franklin Pierce. I wanted to talk a little bit more about two courses in particular that are really focused on experiential learning opportunities. And these are our legal clinics. So clinics give you the opportunity to take on real court casework under the supervision of licensed attorneys. They usually focus on a specialized field of law while also serving the public interest. So for our graduate, our LLM and master's students in IP and commerce and technology law, we offer two relevant clinic opportunities. One is our intellectual property and transaction clinic. And in this clinic, you're really going to focus on issues pertaining to business formation and organization, copyright and trademark registration and protection, licensing, and small business transactions. So you'll help clients with their strategic business ventures, and you'll receive a limited license to practice before the USPTO. And then we have our International Technology Transfer Institute. And this clinic really blends IP and international development with a focus on international capacity building and development. So you'll help countries transition their economies into innovation, IP, and technology. And this program has partnered in the past with organizations such as the World Health Organization, the World Intellectual Property Organization, and the U.S. Department of Commerce. As you can imagine, our clinics are popular courses, so with limited space because you're doing really working closely with licensed attorneys. So we can't guarantee placement in those, but we really do our best to make space for our LLM and master's students in your spring semester to be able to participate. And last year, our International Technology and Transfer Institute, our clinic director, carved out a whole section for our LLM students. We had a number of women in the program last year, and so he really did a whole class related to women in innovation, which was great, really great. And they did a project focused on building capacity in Ukraine. And then one other unique opportunity are our immersive courses. So I mentioned that the traditional academic year is August to May, and there's usually a break between December and January over the holidays. And during that time in recent years, we've had a January term course, so a 1-week course that then continues into the spring semester. But for a week in January, we've taken students on location. And so this program has happened recently in Silicon Valley. We held a course called Intellectual Property Issues Faced by Today's Industry, where students explored IP issues faced by corporate America. So they were on site in Silicon Valley, at companies such as Microsoft, Samsung, Dolby, Google, and Apple, and many more. So not only a unique learning opportunity, but a fantastic networking opportunity as well. This past January, students went to Las Vegas for a sports law and business course at UFC. And here they explored IP, contract, and emerging legal issues at the fastest growing sports league. So again, a really unique opportunity for our students. We are still putting our plans in place for this year. So I don't want to share the details yet, but it's the location is wonderful. And I'm hoping that I get to go on that one. So stay tuned for more information on what that will be. I want to talk a little bit about the support for students when you're here. So of course, we're really focused on your academic success, but there's so much that goes on to support you to be successful in the classroom, and then additional kind of co-curricular activities that happen. So first and foremost, in terms of the academic support, all of our students are connected with an academic advisor. And this person will meet with you individually to help you plan your curriculum out and pick your courses each semester. So students will get connected with their academic advisor before they even arrive here with us in August. And that academic advisor will talk with you about your required courses and help you pick the electives that you need. And this is a good time too, that if you are interested in preparing for a bar exam, that you can work with your academic advisor to make sure that you're taking those classes that would give you the eligibility that you need for the bar exam. You'll also have a faculty mentor who serves in kind of a less official capacity as the advisor, but they are also there to offer guidance on kind of what classes you might take if you have certain career goals. And so they can help in that respect as well. They're also great. They know our alumni so well, so they can help make some of those connections. So just another helpful resource while you're a student here. And then we have our academic success program. And so this program is going to help in two different areas. One is to give you the skills that you need to be successful here in the legal classroom. So they will offer workshops throughout the year and also provide one-on-one support. In addition, they also help students through that bar exam application and preparation. So the director of our academic success program, what we did this past summer was he held, before students arrived, he met with students virtually to do a presentation about the bar exam, so that they would know coming in what courses they need to take, what they need to plan for once they're a student here. And then he was also a part of our international student orientation to, again, guide students to make sure that they're taking the classes that they need to take to be eligible, and to make sure they understand how to even apply to sit for the bar. So they're there to offer that support for you. I truly cannot say enough good things about our career services office. They are so dedicated to the success of our students and will be there with you even before you get here. Again, they are working with our academic advising team to better understand your career goals and make sure that you are taking the classes that are best going to get you there. On the screen here, it's just a screenshot of an internal site that we have dedicated to our international and graduate students. So they are, this is just for you with all sorts of resources once you're enrolled here. And let me go to the next screen where I can share a little bit more about some of the services that they provide. So they are going to do group workshops throughout the year, and then one-on-one meetings with career counselors. And this is really their preference. They want to get to know you as an individual, understand what your goals are so that they can help you get there. They will work with you to make sure that your resume looks good, that your cover letters are well written. They'll practice interviewing skills with you. They'll give you opportunities to practice your networking skills. And then in addition, they're preparing all sorts of resources. So they've built out an alumni directory where you can easily find and contact alumni. They have practice area summaries and how-to guides. They've gathered lists of organizations that have hired our students in the past. And then, of course, they're also out there looking for jobs and sharing those opportunities with you. So here in the US, it can be different, I think, than it is in many other countries around the world, where when you graduate, there isn't a job that's just there waiting for you. You really do need to be out there searching and applying for jobs, but they are going to guide you through every step of that process. And they're also going to help you look for jobs that are the right fit for you. They'll leverage our alumni network. They'll be reaching out to companies that have hired our students. So the more you connect with them, the better off you will be. And again, they are part of our international student orientation so that you're connecting with their office from day one. And just I'll pause briefly just to say, if you've just joined late, that you are more than welcome to ask some questions in the Q&A feature of the webinar, or put a note in the chat as well, and we'll do our best to get to those. I mentioned that we have such a focus on the academic that it's also what goes on outside of the classroom is just as much a part of the overall LLM and master's experience here. So we have a wealth of student organizations available to you, and I share on the screen here just a sample of some of these student organizations. As you can see, we have a number that are very specific to intellectual property law. So our Creative Legal Society, IDEA is our intellectual property law review. There's a Licensing Executive Society, a Sports and Entertainment Law Society. Last year, we had a new group form called Master of the Trademarks. So really a lot of opportunity here. And then in addition, we have more general or special interest student organizations. So we have a Student Bar Association, a Women's Law Student Association. There's an outdoors club and a sports club, a civic engagement society. So when you arrive here in the fall, there will be a student activity fair, so you can learn about all of the different groups on campus. And if there's something that you don't see that you want, you can petition to build it. So a few years ago, we had some LLM students partner with JD students to form a chapter of the Asian Pacific American Law Student Association. And now that group is still going strong, and they hold a number of cultural events throughout the year. So lots of opportunity to get involved. In addition to that, our faculty are also putting on special events throughout the year. So our IP Center is bringing guest speakers here on I would say, a bi-weekly basis. So these people are coming from industry, they are faculty from around the world, and they're coming to present on special topics. Just to give you a sense of where our students are coming from. So in recent years, we've really had students from truly around the world. And as a result, we've started what we've called an international student seminar. And so these seminars are an opportunity for students to come together. And I say students, it's not just our international students, but our US students as well, to come together and learn from one another about different backgrounds. So students can choose to present on, it could be a political issue happening in their country. It could be about a holiday. It could just be about our student from Thailand a couple of years ago kind of did a tourism pitch. So all different things to share and present on. And it's just a nice time to bring our community together to learn from one another. In addition, we do our very best to provide some culture, some US culture to our students as well. So this Friday, so tomorrow, we'll be going apple picking with our students, which is just a very fun traditional activity here in the fall in New England. And then in a few weeks, students will do pumpkin carving, another fall tradition. Each year we hold a special Thanksgiving meal and this is exclusive to our international students, the Thanksgiving meal, to come together and just give thanks and appreciate one another. We usually take students snow tubing in the winter. And then last year we had the opportunity to go to a hockey game at the University of New Hampshire main campus in Durham, New Hampshire. So lots of just different cultural events that go on for students while you're here. And just again, a glimpse of where our alumni are and what they're doing. So really our graduates lead IP law and policy in countries around the world, in Argentina, Nigeria, Taiwan, and they're working for global tech giants and leading companies around the world. So just a preview here. And certainly I would encourage you to reach out to me directly if you're interested in connecting with a current student from your country or a recent graduate, and we'll do our best to get you connected. Let me talk a little bit now about the application process. So there's two different ways to apply. One is through the Law School Admissions Council, and the other option is to apply directly through us. We have an application form on our website. My recommendation to students is if you are applying to multiple law schools in the US, applying through the Law School Admissions Council can really help to streamline the process for you because they will gather all of your documents and send them out. They do charge a fee for their service. But if you're applying to a number of schools, it's likely that some of those schools will require you to go through the Law School Admissions Council. So it can be a more streamlined way to apply. If you are only applying to just our school or just a couple of schools, then applying directly through our website can be an easier option. We do not charge an application fee. So I sometimes get emails asking if I can waive the fee, but there is no fee to waive for you. So we've already done away with that barrier. So two options to apply. In either case, we are going to require 2 letters of recommendation. Ideally, one of these will be from a professor who can talk about your ability to be successful in the classroom. However, we know that a lot of our students have been out of the classroom for some time and have been in the work world. And in that case, we welcome recommendations from supervisors, employers, colleagues, clients, as long as we have 2 letters of recommendation. And what we're really looking for is people to comment on your unique abilities and your ability to be successful as a student in our program and as a professional. We'll look for your resume or your CV, and we encourage you to include your professional experience in here. And if you're a younger student, any engagements that you had while you were in school, any extracurricular activities that you participated in. A personal statement. So for the personal statement, really what we're looking for here is a little bit more background about why you are interested in our program, your career goals and ambitions, and why you think our program is a match for that. Why our school in particular. So I think, I think many students, if you're applying to a number of schools, it's okay if that statement can be applied to those different schools, but I would encourage you to include some additional context for each of your statements that's unique to that school in particular, that really shows us that you've done your research. Not that you've just copied and pasted from our website, but that you've been on our website, you understand who we are and what we offer, and can then explain to us why that's a fit for you. I would say that, we do not have a specific length requirement for the personal statement, but around 500 words or about 2 pages tends to be the standard. But again, if you need a little less space or a little more space, that's absolutely fine. We do require your transcripts or your academic records from all degree programs, so from all the degrees that you've received. We encourage students to go through the transcript evaluation and credential authentication process, but we do not require it. So for the admissions process, we will accept copies of your transcripts directly from you as long as they're in English. But we do encourage students to get their transcripts evaluated. So the Law School Admissions Council will provide that service. Students will also use World Education Services. And what they're doing is they're really looking at your degrees, your courses that you took, the grades you earned, and they're first validating that they're authentic, and then they're comparing that to the US grading system. But if you are unable to do that, again, we will take copies for the admissions process, but we do require official transcripts sent directly by your institution or the credential evaluation company prior to matriculation here. And then for students who are coming from countries where English is not the primary language or where their degree was not taught in English, we do require proof of English language proficiency. And we will accept a TOEFL score of at least 80 or an IELTS score of at least 6.5. I want to talk about our deadlines here. So we have deadlines that are later than most other schools because we want to provide as much flexibility as we can. I definitely recommend applying by the priority deadline for scholarship consideration. Um, but regardless, I encourage students to apply as soon as possible. For students coming from outside the US, the visa process can really take quite some time. And it's new this year that we're able to issue the I-20 a year prior to the program start date. It used to only be 6 months in advance, but now we can do that one full year in advance. And students can also schedule their visa interview 1 year in advance as well. So really, you can apply anytime now and then start that visa process. So the sooner you can do that, the better your chances will be of successfully getting through the visa process. I'm happy to talk more about that to students who have questions. I know that's not the focus of this presentation, but I really can't stress enough that it can sometimes take much longer than you think it will take. There can be long wait times to get a visa interview in certain countries. So the sooner you can apply, be admitted, and then get your I-20, the sooner you can request a visa interview date. So our tuition is, these are estimates that I'm sharing with you because the rates have not yet been set for the next academic year, but I anticipate that the LLM and master's program will be about 42,000 US dollars. And the graduate certificate is just one semester, so it's about half that, about $20,000. In order to receive the I-20, you need to show that you have funds that can support both your tuition expenses and your cost of living. Our cost of living expenses are estimated to be about $21,000 for the year, but this will really vary based on how you choose to live. If you're going to get a house to yourself, if you're going to have roommates, it can really vary. Most of our students live in our law school is it's really located in a neighborhood. And so students will typically live in houses within walking distance of the law school. Usually it's like a 3 or 4 bedroom house, and they'll each have a room. The law school does own a few houses right down the street from us, and we do our best to prioritize those rooms for our international students. It is kind of a first come, first serve situation. So again, the sooner you can move through our application process and get that visa, the better situated you would be to get housing with us. But there is housing available in the community as well. And we do have a housing portal for students where they can search for available accommodations and connect with other students to room together. I get a lot of questions about scholarships. So let me just talk briefly about paying for your LLM, and then I'll share about the scholarships that we have available. A lot of law schools will have scholarships through their law schools. These are typically for tuition only. And that is the case with our school, is that we do have some assistance that is for tuition. Students are typically funding themselves through their own personal savings, or they're getting sponsorships from family, friends, or employers. There are some private loan companies out there that will loan to international students. The one that I have seen our students use the most is Empower Financing. Their interest rates can be a bit high, but they are a reliable option for international students. Again, it can be a process to apply for those loans. So the sooner you can get your application started, if you're looking to join us next August, the better off you'll be. And then I cannot stress enough a resource called Education USA. They are through the Department of State, and they have advising centers throughout the world where they're working with students who want to study in the US. They are phenomenal resources to learn more about the opportunities in your region. They don't necessarily have scholarships themselves to offer you, but they can tell you about any organizations in your country that might, or that they've seen other students use before. They're also a great resource when it comes to the visa process. So they can also talk with you about really what your funding needs to look like, where it needs to be coming from, how it gets to your bank account, so that you can be successful in the visa process. So they're really a great resource when it comes to funding your degree program and the visa process in your country. We get a lot of questions about work on campus. And so the short answer is that we do have jobs available for international students. Students are often working in departments such as admissions, career services, and student life. But these jobs are limited. So the F1 visa restricts you to a maximum of 20 hours of work and on-campus jobs only. I would say that none of our students have the ability to work 20 hours a week given their studies. So students are working more like 5 to 10 hours, but these are on-campus jobs only. So a job on campus is not a way to fund your LLM. It's just a way to have some spending money while you're here. Again, as you're thinking about how you're going to pay for your LLM, working on campus is not the way to do that. It's great for spending money, but you really need to have your finances sorted before you come. So as I mentioned, we do offer a number of partial tuition scholarships for students. These are based on both your merit and financial needs. So for merit, we're looking at your academic record and your professional experience, the quality of your application, and then financial need as well. You can, as part of the application process, there is a question that asks if you would like to be considered for scholarships. So you would just say yes, and then write a couple of sentences as to why you feel you're deserving. We will make scholarship decisions at the same time that we're reviewing your application. So when you receive a letter saying you've been admitted, it will also say if you've received any scholarships. So you'll know right away what the finances look like for you. So on the screen here, you can see some of the scholarships that we have available to you. And then I also want to mention two unique scholarships. So first, for students from India, we have a scholarship that's been sponsored by an alumni law firm called Roys & Co. And each year they offer one $5,000 scholarship to an LLM or master's in intellectual property student. That scholarship does require a separate application, and I'd be happy to connect with folks offline if they're interested in learning more about that. And then another scholarship we have is through a partnership that we have with ASIPI, the IP Association of Latin America. So this is, again, a separate application. It's an essay competition that students submit an essay to ASIPI. They have a team there that will select the winners. And then those winners will receive a full tuition scholarship for our LLM or master's in intellectual property. So we offer 2 of these scholarships each year. And I will put here, that really concludes the formal presentation that I had for all of you to talk about our on-campus LLM master's and graduate certificate programs. So you can see here my contact information. I am happy to take any questions that you have. I know that we addressed that question a little bit earlier today about the bar exam. And so yes, students in our LLM program can take the classes required to be eligible for the US bar exam. So I will wait just 1 minute. You have my contact information there. I invite you to reach out to me with questions or to connect with our students. They are really happy to connect with you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And then we will do our best to share this recording from today so that if you had anything that you wanted to go back to, you'll be able to do that. And we'll aim to get that out to you sometime next week. All right, so I'll just wait 1 more second. I don't see any questions coming in, but I'll wait 1 more minute. But otherwise, I thank you all for being here with me today. And I hope to connect with you personally. So thank you. And thanks, Juan. Okay, so I see a question here from someone wondering about the class schedule for the year. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. your schedule will be different each semester. So from August to December, you'll have set classes. The schedule is really different. So you're not in class from like 9 to 5. You will get to pick. So typically classes start around 8 in the morning. But it will be that your one class will meet twice a week. So for example, our American Legal Process and Analysis class this semester is meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 10:30. So it's 1.5 hours twice a week for each class. So it'll be structured a little bit differently. But some students have sometimes even figured out a way to have classes where they have classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but nothing on Tuesday and Thursday. So it really will vary depending on the classes that you take. And then it will look different again in the spring semester when you register for classes from January to May. You're not in class all day, although sometimes depending on the classes, it could be that you have a 1 or 2 days of the week that are really full with classes, and then other days that are a little bit lighter. There's occasionally some evening classes. Some of these will be in person. You are able to take some of our online classes as well. So it does vary what your schedule looks like. Yeah, I hope that helps. And then I'm seeing another question here about once you've submitted the application, how long does it take to receive feedback? We do our very best to issue decisions within 30 business days of receiving a completed application. We try to do it sooner than that, but there can be really busy times of year where it can be hard to get decisions out sooner. So that's another reason to really get your application in soon, because we do need that time to really review your materials. And I say that it's once we've received a completed application. So what I've seen happen in the past is that students think they've submitted their application, but we're still missing one of the 2 letters of recommendation, or they didn't send in their resume. So we do our best to follow up with you and say, hey, we're just missing this document, but we won't start reviewing your application until we've received all of the documentation that we need. And then once we have all of that, we'll get decisions to you within 30 business days. And then someone here is also asking about, can you apply to more than one program? So what I would suggest in this case, and I'm assuming you're asking about more than one of our programs, what I would suggest is that we have a conversation to figure out what's really the best fit for you. In terms of, the degree itself, there is a degree that's going to be the most appropriate degree for you. From there, it's determining the subject area, whether you want intellectual property or commerce and technology law. So I would recommend that we have a conversation about that. At the end of the day, with those 2 programs, though, the curriculum is fairly similar. So I often advise students to think about the degree title itself, and for their career goals and where they live, which degree title will resonate the most. So more of a personal decision, but I'm happy to talk with you. So I would advise that you make a decision before applying as to which program you want to apply to. If you apply to, say, the LLM in intellectual property, and then you have a change of heart and decide that really it's the LLM in commerce and technology that's the right fit for you, we can work with you on that to make that change. And can you audit classes outside of your program? And so yes. So the program itself, so our LLM requires a minimum of 24 credits. The master's requires a minimum of 30 credits. Your tuition that you pay will allow you to take up to 34 credits at no additional cost. That can be a lot of work to manage, but most of our students do take more than the minimum number of classes required because A, they want to make the most of their time here. But then B, for those students who are preparing for the bar exam, they do have to take some of those extra classes to make sure they meet the requirements for the bar. So there is space to do that, and you can take them for credit. When it comes to auditing, this is typically with the permission of the professor. So you could reach out to a professor and say, I'd like to audit your class, and seek their permission. And our registrar's office can help you with that as well. And then there's a question about if you've studied in English, do you still need to take the TOEFL or the IELTS? And the answer here is that in most cases, you do not. We could offer a waiver of that proof of English language proficiency requirement. Or what we would do is if your transcripts say that your degree was taught in English, we can accept that. And if they do not, we can accept a letter from your registrar's office that says the medium of instruction was English. We may, in some cases, still require like a brief conversation or an interview just to assess for your level of English language proficiency, but we're typically able to work with students on this. And then there's a question about, in terms of scholarship, kind of what are your chances of getting a scholarship? So I think I'm thinking about our students here this year. I think all of our students who requested some scholarship assistance received some funding. The amount will vary depending on, again, financial need, merit. There's a number of different criteria we're considering, but I would say the range is typically somewhere between 25 to 45% of the cost of tuition is kind of the norm. So I would say that the chance of getting some scholarship assistance is really high. And I see that question again about processing an application after submission. So again, it takes us about 30 business days to issue a response. So we do our very best to get you a decision sooner. We know that that you need to keep the process moving. So we'll do our best, but we want to make sure that we give your application sufficient review. And then there's a question here about from a permanent resident about doing a part-time program. So our in-person program is really designed to be a full-time program, primarily because our students are international students, and that visa requires that you be a full-time student in the US. For students who are already in the US, whether you're a permanent resident or a US citizen, I'm happy to talk to you about what that might look like and how we can help you get your requirements in. A fall start, an August start is probably the easiest way to begin, but we could talk offline about that. So don't hesitate to reach out to me and we can talk about your specific situation. And then let me just, so many of you guys, wonderful questions. So thank you. This is great. Yes. So the question here is, can I apply for one course? And then, if I've been admitted, could I maybe change to another course? So again, I would encourage students to have a conversation with us in advance to see which course is the best fit for you. But we did have one student this year who had originally applied to, forget which way it was, but she'd applied to one of the LLM programs and then said, the other LLM feels like the better fit, and can I switch? And we were able to make that change before she arrived here. So before you matriculate is best. The program does go down does get noted on the I-20. So it can, I don't want to say complicate the visa process, but it does add a little bit more work to updating documents. So I think it's in your best interest to really figure out before you apply which program you want to apply to. But if there is, an extenuating circumstance where you have a change of heart, we can work with you. But I would say let's talk before just to see if we can help figure out which is the best fit. Someone is asking if there is a research aspect to the LLM programs or if they're primarily coursework. So they are primarily coursework. A lot of classes will have some sort of research paper that you need to do. And then there is, of course, a class that's focused on, it's like our graduate legal research and information literacy course. There is an opportunity for students to pursue an independent study. If you're looking for something that we just don't quite offer, or you want that opportunity for a little bit more research. And in that case, you would just need to connect with a faculty member who's willing to supervise your independent study. And then again, our registrar's office could help you get registered for that. So there are some options available. Okay, I think I'm looking through the questions and I think I've gotten to them all, but let me give you all just one more moment. I know it can take some time to type a question in there. So if there's something that I've missed or you've thought of something else, I'll wait just another minute and see if there's more questions coming. And thank you all. Many of you have just put some nice comments about how this was helpful. So it's my pleasure. And again, for those, some of you I think I've connected with already one-on-one, but if we haven't and you would like to, I'm happy to do that. I will also be available next Wednesday, the 11th, from 8:30 to 9 a.m. Eastern time for my virtual office hours. So if you need a link to register for that, that's another time to reconnect and get your questions answered. And that is just a Zoom meeting format. So I can see you and you can see me. And I realize I'm still sharing my contact, but I'll stop the share too. And I think, sorry, one more question just came in about, is there a final project to obtain the degree? So there is not like a thesis or a capstone that you need to do. Some classes, some of your courses might have a project, or they might have a final paper that you need to do, but for the degree itself, there is not. We do have exam periods each semester. So students will have exams in December and then typically early May. And we have a few days where you have like a study period to prepare, and then the exams itself. And again, these will look different from class to class and professor to professor. They could be like a in-class written exam. They could be a paper. It could be a take-home exam. So that will vary depending on the course and your instructor. What are the key admission requirements? Like a minimum standard criteria for admission. Okay. This is hard to answer. And it's hard because it's not like there's no entrance exam. So it's not like there's a minimum test score we're looking for. And then when it comes to your GPA, we're looking at GPAs from around the world with very different standards and grading models. So we really take what we call as a holistic approach to application review. So we're not just looking at your grades. We're looking at the quality of your personal statement. We're looking at the letters of recommendation that were written on your behalf. We are looking at your CV and the experiences you've had, whether it's your professional experience or experience while you were in school and activities that you were involved in, or volunteer experience. So we're looking at all of that. So there isn't like a certain minimum. The only minimums would be when it comes to that proof of English language proficiency. And there it's a minimum TOEFL score of 80 or a minimum IELTS score of 6.5. Otherwise, we're looking at the whole picture to see if you're a fit for us and we're a fit for you. So I hope I know that's kind of not like the most helpful answer, but I hope it helps some. And then the typical class size for the LLM program. Yeah, so our in-person LLM program tends to be about, recently, I would say like it's small. It's about 12 to 17 students in recent years. We're looking for a class of about 20 students for this upcoming academic year. But that can really vary from year to year. As we're still kind of recovering from the pandemic, the visa process has still been a bit of an unknown at times. And so again, that's where I just stress, the sooner you can start to move through this process, the more success you'll have in getting your visa successfully and on time to begin with us. But a smaller program, but again, students from around the world. We just had, I should have mentioned earlier, this past weekend was our 50th anniversary celebration. So we had about 300 alumni here from both the US and from around the world, and some great opportunities for our students to connect with our alumni. So on Saturday morning, our career services office had a mixer, and the room was just packed for our current students to meet our alumni. And then we held a special breakfast for our international students and international alumni who were here with us so that they could connect personally. And it was just really wonderful to see people making those connections and growing their networks. Yeah, okay. I think I'll wait again. I don't see any more questions coming in at the moment. So thank you all for being with me today. You were a a really great audience, even though I can't really see you, but these questions are fantastic. So thank you for asking them and for participating. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to connect with you and continue the conversation. So thank you, and have a wonderful day or evening, depending on what time zone you're in. Take care.